Song for a Whale, Chapter 7. Tristan wasn't home yet when I got back there, but more importantly, neither was Mom. I'd have a chance to work on my radios before she came in to lecture me. I ran upstairs to my room where my radio collection filled shelves across 3 walls. I'd have to add a new shelf soon. Tools and electronics parts and wires covered the workbench I'd made out of an old door. My mom said it looked like a robot factory exploded in my room, but I knew where to find everything. Most people were surprised when they found out I fixed old radios, but that was because most people don't notice that sound moves. If it's strong enough, it can move anything. Its waves can break glass or shake the ground or deafen a whale. Even if they're not strong, sound waves tremble radios too. That was why I didn't need to hear one to know if it was working. With my hand on the speaker, the vibrations let me know if a radio was playing music or crackling with static or sitting there like a box of rocks. For me, listening to the radios was never the point. Each one of those sitting on my shelves was a reminder of something I'd done right. They weren't working until I got my hands into them. Whenever I fixed something, I felt like I'd won a contest. I sat down next to my bed and touched the side of the Philco 38690 cabinet radio like I did every day when I got home and every morning before I left. Of all the antique radios in my collection, this was my favorite. Since it was almost 4 feet tall, it sat on the floor instead on a shelf like the others. It was from the 1930s and, in my professional opinion, the best radio ever made. Only 3,000 ever existed. For a long time, I'd only seen the 38690 in pictures. Then, one day, there it was, behind the counter at Mr. Gunner's antique shop. My eyes almost fell out of my head when Mr. Gunner said he was going to throw it away. Sure, it was in rough shape, really rough, but I couldn't let him get rid of it. I asked if I could take it as payment for a repair I'd brought him. He said that it wouldn't be fair, so he paid me and gave me the radio. Then I sort of felt like I was stealing from an old man. Even though he might change his mind, I told Mr. Gunner what the Philco could be worth if I restored it. Maybe he didn't know what he had. A cloud of dust flew up when he patted the radio's scratched wooden cabinet. If you do all the work this thing is going to need, you deserve to keep it. For the next 5 months, I worked to bring the Philco back from the dead. When I finally finished, static hummed against my palms. With the smallest turn of the dial, the smooth rhythm of music flowed from the speaker, vibrating the whole cabinet of the radio. If anyone had asked why I was sitting there crying with my arms around a radio, I wouldn't have known how to explain it. I couldn't stop thinking about how many years it had sat quietly collecting dust and how close it had come to being thrown in the garbage because no one thought it was worth listening to. Usually, I left it on overnight, even though that would wear it out faster. While I was in bed, I could reach over and feel the vibrations against my hand and fall asleep wondering who was singing and who was listening. The floor shook a little, announcing Mom coming up the stairs. I sat there waiting to find out what my punishment would be. Probably, I wouldn't be allowed to use my phone or visit my friend Wendell for a while. When the door opened, I turned to her and signed. I know, serious trouble, but she pointed around my room before I could explain that what had happened in school wasn't my fault. All of this, she signed, is out of here. What? Get some sheets and towels and wrap them up if you want, but as soon as Tristan gets home, you're going to help us carry everything out to the garage. I gripped the edge of the Philco as if I could keep it from leaving my side. No, that isn't fair. You said you'd stay out of trouble. We warned you about this. I didn't know you meant I'd lose my radios. I waved my arms at my collection. I didn't know you'd take everything I have. You're being dramatic. It isn't everything you have. Anyway, she added before I could interrupt her, we have to do something to get your attention. Maybe you'll take us seriously when we say you have to learn to get along with people and follow the rules. That girl's parents are really upset with the school. It's not the school's fault or my fault. They should be mad at themselves for raising an annoying daughter. It can't always be someone else's fault. If people annoy you, you have to figure out a better way to deal with it. Well, easy for you to say. There isn't a better way. When everyone ignores you, warm tears dampened my fingertips. When my signing hands touched my face, I wiped my hands on my jeans. Just then, I remembered the Admiral set. I couldn't believe I'd forgotten about it. Mom's announcement about taking my radios must have short-circuited my brain. I have to pick up a TV from the junkyard. Hopefully, she wouldn't ask when I'd been at Moe's, but I had to risk it. No, we're not going out to get you a new thing to add to the exact collection that you're grounded from. You have enough junk anyway. It didn't matter that I had a lot of junk. I didn't have that particular item. I tried to explain it, but Mom turned to leave. The conversation was over. Before she walked out, I waved my hand to get her attention. When can I have my stuff back? A little at a time, starting Monday. Well, what will I do all weekend? You can visit Wendell, and we'll go to Grandma's on Saturday. You're not grounded from everything, just your electronics, which was everything. When Tristan got home, he told me I didn't have to help carry my things out. He knew how much it would hurt. Mom and I will take care of it. I shook my head as I slid one of my smaller radios into a pillowcase. That's okay, but thanks. I really didn't want to do it, but I also didn't want to miss out on one more chance to hold my radios before they were put away. After we hauled my stuff to the garage, I went back up to my room, which wasn't really my room anymore. The shelves were bare. So was the work table, which just a few hours earlier had been piled with electronic parts. A thin layer of dust outlined all that was missing. An imprint in the carpet next to my bed marked where the Philco should have been. I lay down in bed and turned toward the wall so I wouldn't have to face the emptiness. Tristan came in later to check on me. I turned when he sat at the edge of the bed and touched my shoulder. You okay? He signed. I rolled onto my back. No, I will never be okay. I'm sorry. It isn't fair. I need my stuff. It's work anyway, like for Mr. Gunner. So they're grounding me from work, which is stupid. Yeah, I told Mom that. I think they want you to hang out with people instead of with radios so much. I do hang out with people. Tristan didn't respond to that. Maybe he didn't believe me. He was always doing things with friends. It's just for a couple of days. But there's this radio I really need. Mom won't let me pick it up, even if I promise not to work on it yet. Where is it? Moe's. I sat up. Will you get it for me, please? It looks heavy since it's in a cabinet with a TV and a record player, but you're strong enough to load it into your truck. He said what looked like and ran a hand through his hair. Unlike me, he could do that without getting his hand stuck. He had Dad's smooth, light brown hair instead of thick, dark curls like Mom and me. All I got from Dad was pale skin that turned pink and more freckled in the sun instead of Mom's, which tanned. Please, I signed again. Do you know how many vacuum tubes are in there? No idea. How many? I don't know. More than I need. I was going to look it up again. Plus, tube sockets, wires, transformers, caps. Tristan laughed and threw his hands up in surrender, which, as it happens, looks like the sign for give up. Okay, but then what? You don't think Mom and Dad will notice? Hide it in the garage with everything else. Then we'll bring it up to my closet when they're not here. Okay, hold on. Be right back, he signed. Hold, like he was clutching something in his fist, and not by pointing an index finger up like people do all the time, as if they were saying, wait a minute, and then never getting back to you. Tristan knew I hated that. After a few minutes, Tristan came back and waved me to the doorway. Let's go. Me? Go where? I just chugged the last of the milk and then told Mom I'd go out to pick up more. I jumped up and slid into my shoes. Milk wasn't the only thing that we'd be picking up. Mo was back at his usual place behind the desk in the junkyard's office trailer. How was the doctor's appointment? I asked. Tristan's voiced my question, and Mo answered, I'm healthy as a horse. Not any horse I'd want to ride, but I wasn't going to mention that. How much for the Admiral set? Even though Tristan was there, Mo communicated with me like he always did and held up 2 fingers on one hand and 5 on the other. I pretended to consider the $25 offer, and if I wasn't desperate enough to pay whatever he asked. Before we left home, I grabbed 2 20s from my repair money envelope. I held up 2 fingers on one hand and formed the other in an O hand shape. Mo nodded and gave me a thumbs up. Then followed us outside after I handed him a 20. He helped Tristan lift up the set and load it into the truck. Before hopping into the passenger's seat, I shook Mo's hand and hugged Tristan. I'd have to force myself to stop smiling when we got home so Mom wouldn't wonder why I was so happy. We were pulling into the driveway when I tapped Tristan on the shoulder and signed, Milk! The reason for the trip, as far as Mom knew. He backed out and hurried to the gas station. Want anything? He asked when we were inside. I'm almost out of gummy worms, I answered. He squeezed my shoulder and signed, Pick out whatever you want. The hard part was when we got home. Tristan always parked in the driveway, since our 2-car garage had room for only 1 car and a bunch of stuff. We slid the TV onto a flattened cardboard box and shoved it into the garage, stopping a couple of times along the way to give my arms a rest. Finally, we got it safely in the corner and covered it with garage junk. Tomorrow, it would be in my closet, where it belonged, and my room wouldn't feel so empty anymore.